What is going on? Welcome back to your Wednesday redraft, Roto Heat Fantasy Inferno. And you might have noticed already that is not Shane Barrett beside me. Brad's filling in. Shane got tied up a little bit. Something came up for him. So Mr. Menendez over here volunteered to help out and join me for tonight's episode. So I appreciate it as always, Brad. I always appreciate the chances I get to catch up and talk some pigskin with you. So how's things? How are you?
Oh, I'm living the dream. It's always fun to chop it up with our best ball guru here, even though it's not a best ball episode show.
No,
but it will be in the off season, right?
Yeah.
We're going to best ball in the off season, so it'll be good. It'll be a fun show tonight. I always enjoy having good conversations and talking with all the folks in the chat. Thank you guys for jumping on as always, and thank you guys for helping us grow. I mean, we've been having a great season building content. I've been focusing obviously on shorts because you guys have allowed me to do so with your handling these shows. So I appreciate it. It's nice to get to this point in the season and be able to look back and see what wins, losses, things like that. And then to help these guys and help all of our amazing community win some championships. So let's do some start sit stuff this week.
Yeah, definitely a little more long form, which is nice. A little throwback to the old days back when we used to do this show together. So looking forward to chopping it up, but I see some people rolling in. If you have questions, get them in the chat. We'll answer them as they come in. We're not going to make anybody wait. That's kind of the whole premise of this show is to get to them and make them happen. So if you have questions, fire them in the chat. Hopefully we see a lot of people that we saw last week and get some good chatter going. So we might as well kick it off with a start sit that I have for my own team that is in a bit of a tough spot. I'm in the semis. I was trending to be at one point late in the season. I was the number one team in the league. I was trending towards being that, most points, all that kind of stuff, number one seed. And it's it's $200 league. So that stuff all pays out, which is nice. But I'm in a tough spot here. So I have Lamar Jackson. Obviously, it does not look like he's going to be playing. He has sat out the first two practice sessions this week. It's not looking good. And obviously, I have his backup, Tyler Huntley. I got Kenny Pickett and Sam Darnold that I picked up off the waiver wire to see, just to see. I had to get throw as many darts as I could. I got Trace McSorley, I think, is there. Guys like that, Malik Willis. But I'm not the guys I have here. I think I'm leaning towards more than those guys. But Brad, what are your thoughts in my situation with what I'm looking like? What would you do off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'm not starting Huntley. I'm probably not starting Darnold either, as much as I think he's fine. I put out a short earlier this week saying, what do you do with him? I think he's startable if you need him, but I feel good about Pickett. I mean, he's facing a Raiders defense that they just let people score like crazy amounts of points. So I know Pickett's been up and down, but his weapons are better overall than Darnold's weapons, right? So better running back in Najee and whatever else they do, whether it's Jalen Warren, Benny Snell, as well as the receivers and tight ends. Like Pickett just has a better supporting cast. So if he can get the volume moving and they can really, get in rhythm quickly, I mean, it could be a shootout type game where Detroit's defense has been really pretty solid. I know they've been great against the run and they've been a little weaker against the pass, but I don't see Darnold being able to set up the play action, which is Darnold's big thing. He's really good at play action. He's not really going to be able to do a lot of play action when they're stuffing the run and these running backs are only getting a couple yards of carry. I mean, they don't have a Michael Carter on this team. Deonta Foreman's a north-south runner who gets stuffed, and then you've got Chuba, who is kind of a north-south runner wannabe with a little bit of PPR value. So,
to be honest, I'm worried about game script for both of them. Because I think in both games, we could see both teams really take the air out of the ball and just run, right? You can certainly see that with the Raiders, obviously with the Steelers, and then with Carolina and Detroit. Detroit runs the ball maybe more than anyone with the three-headed monster kind of back there. So that's one of my biggest kind of, I don't really care about the names or their skill sets. I'm more just trying to decipher which game
who's going to give you more points,
is going to have more throwing and more points, right, in general. And to be honest, I'm kind of leaning Darnold with the rushing ability. I know Kenny Pickett has it too, and I'm not making my decision tonight, that's for sure. And I'm looking for people to sway me one way or another. But I'm actually, Detroit's put up 26.4 points per game throughout the season and 31.3 in their last 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the Carolina Panthers defense is nothing to write home about. It's a must-win game for the Panthers at home. It's a must-win game to stay in that division race where they play Tampa Bay and then the Saints, 2 division games to end the year. I don't know. I'm leaning right now, Darnold, but I certainly like Pickett against the Raiders at home. Weather, maybe I'll keep an eye on the weather on that one as well, and kind of take it from there. But I wanted someone else's take on this.
I mean, so the Raiders are still in the playoff hunt, right? So they are still trying. I know it's tough for them. What are they, 3 or 4 back? I think they're the 10th or 11th seed right now.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to, and their offense is pretty potent, right? Like they can put up points, they can move the ball pretty well. So that's what makes me think that Pittsburgh's going to have to try to pass to stay in the game, because we know Vegas can put up the points, and it may be running. Maybe they do lean on the run, which would be great for my Josh Jacobs shares this week. I need them all to hit hard, but that's why I lean Pickett, is I think they're both going to have to do that to stay in it. And Darnold could certainly need to as well, but Detroit's been super stingy against opposing rushing offenses here recently. So I feel like what Darnold does best is he works off of a run game to set up his passing. So I think it's going to be tough for him. Now, I think he's still going to get you passing yards. I would guess, if I had to put a number on it, probably 200 to 230 yards to the air, maybe 1 touchdown, Yeah. And then I don't know that he's going to be able to get you much rushing, because they've been putting up sacks like crazy. They've been keeping quarterbacks in the pocket. I mean, look at Zach Wilson. He moved to get the ball out, but he was having a hard time moving and getting out.
Yeah, those 2 rookie pass rushers have definitely James Houston and obviously Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, the Hutch touch. He still hasn't trademarked the Hutch touch. That's what I came up with at the draft. That's every sack, the Hutch touch. He's got to figure out something to work off of that. I think it just makes too much sense.
I mean, why? Well, you should copyright it now, so then he has to pay you for the copyright, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Get some royalties on that. But I think you might have talked me into Pickett. I do like that, because the Steelers' pass D is terrible. And I could certainly see a bit of a gunslinger shootout there, especially with the guy, with Derek Carr. He's prone to those types of games. And, Kenny Pickett hasn't been in one yet, coming off the concussion. He should be back for sure. He's got great weapons. You might have talked me into it. So
I don't hate either one. If you went with either one, I'm going to say, okay. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I would just lean for the guy that has better ceiling. And I think Pickett has a higher ceiling than Darnold does.
Well, I haven't made up a decision yet, so we'll see what I land on. But let's jump into these questions. We got some rolling in, which is awesome. We got Facebook user. It doesn't show names, I think, when Facebook guys type in questions.
Fortunately not.
I hope you guys are having a great week. It's been minus 40 all week here for me. Negative 40 degrees, which I learned today because I looked, because a lot of people on here are American. Obviously, I'm Canadian. That's the crossover where there's no more difference. Negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit and negative 40 degrees Celsius is the same.
Oh, no kidding. Well, look at that.
There you go. Fact. Everybody learned something today.
Now you know.
You come to Roto Heat and you learn a little nugget or two. So there you go.
I hear we're supposed to get that. I know that tomorrow night it's supposed to start. The negative stuff is going to push down from you guys and hit us. So I hear we're supposed to get like negative teens and 20s over the next couple of days, and some snow and stuff too.
Yeah, it warms up here to plus whatever by the weekend. So it's pretty wild weather where I live, actually, to be honest, but it's one of those things. I picked up Goff off waivers, need a big week after staying close to the number 1 seed. Do I start Brock Purdy or Goff?
Let's see.
Brock Purdy's playing Washington at home, and he's still kind of nursing that oblique injury. He'll play. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, he did well last week, though. I remember starting him in a league.
Yeah.
Even with the injury. I don't know. I feel like this could be a matchup where Goff leans on the run, because I know they keep saying they want to get the run going, even though it's not been very good recently. So I'd want to say Goff, but man, I think you're okay. I mean, ultimately, I think you're okay either way. Either one of these guys should do well, but I'd probably lean Goff, I think, just because they're rolling.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't on this one. I mean, you're going to start the right or wrong, the wrong guy is usually how it goes. And hopefully you don't get upset with us. So I'm going to split it down the middle. And I've been talking to him and hammering on the home away splits for Goff for weeks before anyone else was talking about it. I was hammering on that on this show. and it's an away game for the Detroit Lions. I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going with Brock Purdy at home against the Washington Commanders. He's looked good ever since he took over that job. He's looked very good, actually, considering he's the last pick in the NFL draft, 7th round pick. Not a guy that I saw really any value in. I was shocked he got drafted, to be honest with you, even though he is the last pick. But he's making me look silly, I guess. And he's
I'm about to say one guy that used to be connected to Roto Heat back in the day was a huge Brock Purdy fan. Other than that, I've not heard anyone talk about him prior to him playing well.
Well, he was an Alabama commit originally, and then probably thought he would be a career, never see the field type of a player, and, went to Iowa State, which isn't exactly, a pass happy offense, that's for sure. So, and he's clearly picked up the offense. He's a good quarterback for this offense, but the reality is Kyle Shanahan is a system. And it's for quarterbacks and running backs. They will both succeed no matter who you are, no matter what your name is, no matter what your history is, no matter what you can and can't do well. You'll succeed. You'll find a way in that system on both of those positions. It's just how it works. So, I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. But again, you're not wrong, and you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And you're going to, you're either going to get it right or wrong. Flip a coin on this one, to be honest with you. Next one is McKinnon worth a look over Montgomery or Kamara, and standard as well. Upset the number 1 seed in the championship. Nice. So this is a key decision for me.
With Herbert coming back, Monty could be a decrease, and Kamara against Cleveland is one that I'm struggling with too, because I probably have to start him. But yeah, I would. McKinnon's been fire lately for KC, and when he's healthy, they're getting him the ball. He's getting PPR value. I'm starting McKinnon. I have no problem putting him in my lineups if he's healthy.
I don't either, because he's been awesome. I have a hard time
Seattle.
I know, at home as well. I have a hard time sitting Kamara is all. I mean, the Browns defense has been pretty susceptible up the middle, especially in the run game. Kamara had his most touches, most carries, I think, of the year since week 8 last week. So he's kind of, with Mark Ingram down as well. David Johnson comes in and coughs up the ball. He's not going to see the field again.
So is it safe to say yours is Kamara, then McKinnon, then Montgomery if you had to 1, 2, 3 it?
If I had to, yes. Even though that's what Chicago's going to try to do against the Buffalo. They're just going to run the ball 1,000,001 times and hope that they're in the game late in the game. That's what their strategy has always been. Same with the Giants this year. That's what every bad team needs to do. The Lions, that's how they became, better and got to the point that they're in right now, is running the ball 40 times a game. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. So
I could see Fields leading that team in rushing against Buffalo, though. Right, for
sure.
That's why I'm with you. Kamara's my 1, then McKinnon, then Montgomery. So if you can start 2 of 3, starting Kamara, I'm starting McKinnon.
Yeah,
and I feel good about it.
I guess I could be talked into McKinnon over Kamara, but I just have a hard time, sitting.
I've been starting him all year, even when he's not winning me games. So
me too. I have him in a league, and I just can't sit him. He can pop off for 30, 40 points, right?
Right.
And I would not want to be the GOAT that has him on my bench when that happens, when I drafted him in the first round, right? Vladimir Hurst, start Jeff Wilson, Khalil Mack.
Herbert. He probably means Herbert. Mack's a bigger name, but
gotta be. Yeah.
He's talking running back. So it's Wilson, Herbert, Gus Edwards.
Okay, or Gus Edwards. Is Jeff Wilson back this week?
I can tell you. Give me a second here.
They play Green Bay.
He's limited. He was limited in practice as of today.
I probably have Jeff Wilson at the bottom here just because of how Mostert just looked recently, and
I think Gus Edwards is probably my top out of these guys. Because they're going to have to win on the run.
I think I agree on that. Yeah, with Devin Duvernay now out, Rashad Bateman, and with Huntley,
no Jackson.
Pretty much definitely no Lamar Jackson. I don't expect him to play. And then, they're going to run the ball as much as they possibly can to hang around in this game against a weak Atlanta defense.
And they should have no problem. They should be able to win the game with 250 rushing yards, right?
At home too. At home, I think I'm going with Gus Edwards here as well. I agree with you.
Oh, so Jordan Johnson says he actually means Marlon Mack. So Marlon Mack, which is Denver,
Must be. Yep. So Marlon Mack was the guy that I wanted to talk about actually on
There you
this
go.
on
Thank you,
this show.
Jordan.
So
Appreciate you, brother.
that's actually like he's one of my best friends. That guy.
Who is Marlon
Jordan.
Mack?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you
Yeah.
go.
There we go. So
Welcome,
kicking
Jordan.
in.
So
So Marlon Mack's the guy I
Marlon
want to
Mack.
talk about. 6.3%. He's available on the waiver wire, I'm sure. 18.7 and 16.3 points in the last 2 weeks. What I wanted to say really about him was in those last 2 weeks where he put up 18.7 and 16.3, he only had a 32 and 29% snap share. That's criminal. They need to get him the ball. They need to make a concerted effort to give Marlon Mack more of a snap share, more carries, more targets, everything. He's 26 years old. Latavius Murray is 32. It's time to see if he can at least be your backup next season. They're going to have to re-sign him. They could still get him for cheap, that's for sure. And they're going to need someone that can, chip in while Javonte Williams is still getting up to speed, because it's going to take some time for Javonte to get back to, game speed. I'm going to be pretty much completely off Javonte Williams next year because of that injury. In redraft, obviously, this is a redraft show. So a guy like Marlon Mack, it depends on if they're going to give him the full workload is really my big concern is, if he only has a 32% snap share and he's only getting, 6 carries and 4 targets, I'm a little concerned. What are your thoughts?
And Marlon Mack's been looking like 2019 Marlon Mack, which I think is big because he hadn't looked right since he came back from injury, and then Indy didn't give him a lot of run. So he's bounced around. Running back is a fairly deep position for a lot of teams, so he's had a hard time finding a spot. If he's healthy and we keep seeing 2019 Marlon Mack like we've seen a little bit of flashes of here recently, I have no problem with him. I was a Marlon Mack fan when he was in Indy before the injury kind of zapped everything. So why not? I mean, he's been their best weapon of the bunch that they've got at this point. I mean, you know what you have with the rest of these guys. Marlon Mack, you don't. So why aren't you, why not play him? Your season's over.
That's what I'm saying. Why not see what you have in him for next season, where he can be on this team and be a quality backup and play some meaningful snaps early in the season, while Javonte is getting back up to speed and things like that. He's a former 1,000-yard rusher, 26 years old. Like I said, he's still quite young. Yes, he's coming back from an Achilles, but from what we've seen lately, of guys coming back from those types of injuries, look at Cam Akers right now. He's looking great. I was talking about Cam Akers. I was ready to have him break my heart. Now I'm ready to, have him break everybody's heart potentially. So
he's definitely looked a lot better.
Yeah.
But in LA with that trash offensive line, I mean, what do you expect? Nobody's going to look good.
So the big question becomes then, if this is Marlon Mack, what do you do, Brad?
I'm probably okay starting Marlon Mack, then Gus Edwards, then Jeff Wilson. But I still think Gus Edwards has a fairly decent floor this week because they're going to have to run a ton. And JK is not going to get 25, 30 carries. So
yeah, if you're looking for a floor play, Gus Edwards. If you're looking for a ceiling play, Marlon Mack. That's my advice. And I would roll the dice on Marlon Mack.
Yeah, because Denver's got the Rams.
Yeah.
There's some value there.
Probably no Aaron Donald. Yeah, I don't play most him. Likely. Why would you play him?
So isn't he going to retire after the season anyway?
Well, we'll see.
Wasn't this supposed to be it?
We will see. Snipinator. Start Miles Sanders or Michael Pittman Jr.
So Pittman's got the Chargers and Sanders has the Cowboys.
With big Richard Nick Foles starting at quarterback. So that should be interesting. At home against the Chargers. Or Miles Sanders against Dallas on the road with likely Gardner Minshew. It's actually a really tough question.
I'm probably going Pittman just because I think Foles as a veteran can distribute the ball fine. Like he's not going to be amazing, but he'll get Pittman the ball.
Yeah, and the thing that I like the most about Pittman is he gets so much underneath work. It's insane. There's so many drags and slants and things like that.
Because he's a big slot receiver, right?
Yeah, just get the ball in his hands while he's running fast, and then he'll turn it upfield and continue to run fast. Yep. Dallas's defense is quite stout. You're not getting a lot of maybe you get a little more PPR with Gardner Minshew. That's a tough one. I'm gonna go with Miles Sanders just because Gardner Minshew starting. I would feel like they're gonna hand the ball off a little bit more. And again, with him starting, I think he can get a little more PPR action than he would with Jalen Hurts. I'm going with that narrative. And I'm just concerned about Nick Foles and the Colts in general, to be honest with you. That's a scary proposition, putting my money on the Colts with a Monday night too. It's super close, but I'm going to go with Miles Sanders.
Yeah. I'm a Pittman guy in this one, but if you started Sanders, it wouldn't, maybe do they lean on the run because it's Minshew potentially starting?
That's what I'm thinking.
But if they do that, are they leaning on Sanders? Or are they going to distribute the ball to a few running backs? It could go either way. Sanders probably has at least 10 to 15 touches. Are they quality? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Pittman, I think, has probably 7 to 10 catches potential, maybe.
Plus, I could certainly see the Chargers just dog walking the Colts, to be honest, and they got to throw the ball to come back here. So, yeah, honestly, this one's pretty ridiculously close in my opinion. I think there's a good chance that they could be within 5 points of each other. So,
100% agree.
Flip a coin, but we're split again. We're split a lot tonight, Brad. What's going on?
That whole Canada-America divide thing. You're just trying to be.
I'm just being difficult. TK37 Zaking Prods. I'm not sure if that's a word or what's going on there, but
Brady in there, so let's do it.
There you go. Start Goff, Watson, Rodgers, or Brady.
All right, so Goff's got Carolina. Watson's got New Orleans. Green Bay is facing
Miami on the road.
Not touching Rodgers. And Tampa has the Cardinals. Oh, that could be a cakewalk.
You're not touching Rodgers? I'm actually leaning Rodgers here.
I'm not.
In Miami, that weak secondary, their defense is really not good.
That weak Green Bay offense. Green Bay, Rodgers has been not good lately.
He looked pretty good, in my opinion. He looked pretty good in that. What was it? Just Monday night, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I thought he looked pretty good, especially considering the cold. It's going to be warm. He's going to get loose. His thumb looks a lot better. Christian Watson, I think, is going to have a deep touchdown. Romeo Doubs is back.
So you're going Rodgers. I'd probably lean Brady of the group against that Arizona defense, which has been weak at best. The only issue I have is that they could lean on the run just because Cardinals aren't going to scare them with Trace McSorley under center. So I don't hate it. In my mind, it's probably Brady. Goff and Rodgers, I think, are probably very similar in what their potential output could be this week. And then I'm not starting Watson. He's come back and hasn't looked right yet. I don't think he's really ready to start on a fantasy team until next season because he needs to knock off a year and a half of rust. So
yeah, potentially no Nick Chubb. He didn't start. Yeah. He didn't practice the first 2 sessions here. I'm going with A-Rod. I'm going with the old gunslinger in Aaron Rodgers in Miami, because I see Miami putting up points, that's for sure, and they're going to throw the ball. Christian Watson, just burner. I like that. I like Alan Lazard. I like now you're panicking, Brad.
No, I'm just trying to block somebody who's throwing trash comments up. Sorry, back to them.
I like Dobbs. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. I'm taking it in like the only time I would recommend starting Aaron Rodgers. This is pretty much the week. Also, should I start Pickens? Slay? Probably
Darius Slayton.
Must be, yeah. Pickens, Slayton, White, or Pacheco. PPR. Slayton's got a good matchup.
Slayton's got a good matchup. Rashad White's going against Arizona, who is just weak. Pacheco's not a bad one either. Casey's got a good, they're going against Seattle. So that could turn into a ground and pound because they can do that against Seattle.
Yeah, playoff Lenny has been really leading the charge there lately. I'm not a massive fan of Rashad White, never have been, probably never will be.
Not either.
So I'm going to go with Pacheco because I think he's got the best floor available here. And then I'm going But then it's between Slayton and Pickens for me.
Who are the Giants facing this week? So the Giants have Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, they could probably throw the ball on them pretty well.
And he's been, I mean, Isaiah Hodgins is another guy that I've been talking about on this program. He's another guy that you could certainly look at. I mean, it's a risk play, that's for sure, but Isaiah Hodgins is in there as well. But I'm going with Pacheco just because he's getting that run, and it's a weak Seattle. You know, it wasn't too long ago that Josh Jacobs threw up 300 friggin' yards on this defense. So, and it's in Kansas City. I'm going with Pacheco.
So I'm just looking at snap counts to see. Yeah, so Fournette led the running back room. Oh, he had 43% of the snap to Rachaad White's 29. The week before that, it was 40 for Rachaad White, 36 for Fournette. The week before that, it was 50% for White, 33 for, or 50% for Lenny, 30 for, yeah. I mean, Tampa Bay and Casey are both going to use multiple running backs. I don't hate the Pacheco choice. Slayton, I feel like I always pick week in and week out, and sometimes they hurt me. Sometimes he hurts me. I mean, it's just the way the Giants, if they can get the ball moving a little bit on the ground to set up the pass, then Slayton can have a day. If they can't, then it'll be tough for everybody. So I don't.
Yeah.
Pickens, I think, is a sneaky kind of ceiling type play because he can make. I mean, he's the best player on this list, right? But he's also got the biggest question mark just because that offense is kind of up and down, streaky. So
yeah, I mean, if you think that's going to be a shootout, like we talked about on the kind of kickoff of the show, if you think that there's a shootout there with the Raiders, which is certainly plausible, then yeah, we could definitely see Pickens, throw up 100 yards, a couple touchdowns. We could see we theoretically certainly could see his biggest week of the season this week against the Raiders. So yeah, I'm okay with calling Pickens the ceiling play and Pacheco the floor play. So you can kind of go off of that, but if I'm faced with this, I'm going to go with Pacheco, unless I'm behind or something. Yeah, and you can kind of adjust accordingly. Snipinator, sit one, Scary Terry, Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper in a wind game.
Probably Amari Cooper, honestly, as much as I love him. That offense has been so.
And I feel like Marcus Lattimore will probably be back this week. He practiced all week last week in a limited fashion. I would assume that this is when he gets back on the field this week. And, they're still like the wild thing about this NFC South is they're still in it at 5-9. Every team is still in it. So they certainly have a lot to play for. So there's no reason to shut down Lattimore. So if I'm sitting one of these, it's definitely, Amari Cooper's who I'm sitting.
Well, and with Cortland Sutton probably still out, Jerry Jeudy gets a bunch of targets. Terry McLaurin, I mean, the Washington's moving the ball well, and he's getting involved. So I'm with you. Amari Cooper 100% because I don't trust Watson right now, and that Saints defense is pretty good.
Russ will be back from his conky a couple weeks ago, and Scary Terry is like he's the number one here in my opinion. So yeah, no worries there.
With you.
My boy JJ starts Slayton, Montgomery, Herbert is back, or DJ Chark. DJ Chark is still horribly underrated. Love me some DJ Chark. Love me some DJ Chark.
Sully is crying. You saying, do you love DJ Chark?
Oh man, I'm excited to see where he ends up next season. If he stays with Detroit, which I don't particularly see. We'll see where he goes. I'm excited. They'll be certainly on.
I hope they bring him back.
Chark. Yeah, it'd be a great move. It'd be a great move for that team and that offense, and what's probably one of the favorites to win the division next year. You'd think. I like him to win the division next year. You must be happy.
I like them making the playoffs this year.
You guys are ahead of
they're actually producing. They were 1-6 after Miami, so
you're ahead of the game. That's for sure. It's like when my Bengals went to the Super Bowl last year. It's way ahead of where I wanted to be, and now we're there.
I know.
But anyways, back to this question.
Yeah, I probably feel safest with Slayton. If you want the ceiling play, potentially Shark. And Buffalo is such a hard team to trust, hard team to bet against. So Montgomery's the one that I'm just, I mean, I love Montgomery, the running back. I just don't. I don't trust. I don't trust them against Buffalo. So I'd
Yeah.
go Slayton, Shark, Montgomery is my order of operations if I was choosing.
I think that's the biggest thing that holds back or basically kind of, gives fuel to the Montgomery haters is that, he plays on a bad team with a very, very bad offensive line. And before this year, it was a bad scheme. And, Montgomery is a fantastic running back, in my opinion. I
Oh
can't
yeah,
wait to see where he goes as well. I hope he goes somewhere else, and I hope he does not stay in Chicago. I think he's a fantastic running back. If he was given a better situation, he'd be, certainly in the top 10 for running backs, potentially a top 5 running back given the right, situation. But I think you're right. I think Slayton, like they're going to have to put up some points against Minnesota. It's in Minnesota. They've been rolling, obviously, with that huge comeback last week. You're going to have to put up points. They're not going to be able to run and gun, or not even run and gun, just run Saquon, into the
right.
ground. It's not going to happen. Obviously, he's going to get his. Saquon's going to have a good week, but they're going to have to, again, like you spoke on earlier, given the weakness of the Vikings run D, Barkley's going to get some run, and they should be able to set up some play action and some deep shots where we've seen Slayton excel not only this year but throughout his career, realistically. Yeah, I would agree. I think Slayton. I think Slayton is your best bet. And then it's kind of, it's a toss up. Chark, I guess, because I love me some Chark.
Do.
Anthony, good evening. Should I
What's
flex
up, buddy?
Christian Watson or Ken Walker full PPR?
Walker.
Kenny Walker's my guy. He was my number 1 running back over Brees Hall.
Could you see Watson score more than Walker this week?
Absolutely.
I feel safer with Walker, though. I mean, Kansas City's defense is not exact. I mean, the Texans took them to overtime, right? Like, you can move the ball against them. So Walker's still he's safer all around. Watson could be a ceiling play. He could get you 2
30.
catches, 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, or he could get you 2 catches, 7 yards and no touchdowns. I mean,
the good thing about Christian Watson lately, like we saw at the very end of that game where they certainly didn't need to, they were trying to get him a touchdown at the end there, so clearly they want to get him in the end zone. Rodgers seems to like him. So I love Christian Watson. Don't get me wrong. Especially this week, I just got through saying he's going to have a huge touchdown, a 60, 70-yard touchdown. I said it about 2 minutes ago, and I stand by it. And we both think, yeah, absolutely. No question Christian Watson can outscore Kenny Walker. No question. But I'm going with Kenny Walker as well. It's volume. Volume is king, right?
That's it.
Ryan Green in a super flex spot. Heineke, Huntley, DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, or Pittman. I'm going DJ Moore.
So Heineke's facing San Francisco, right? Yeah, Washington. Oh yeah, because Detroit's going to wind up being the 7th seed after this weekend because they got Seattle facing KC, loss, and Washington face 49ers, loss.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, any of those wide receivers, right? Like Deontay Johnson gives you plenty of PPR value. I can see him having 7, 8, 9 catches, just not a ton of yards and touchdowns, right? Pittman, will be the safety blanket for Nick Foles. DJ Moore, Detroit's defense can be thrown on. So I don't really hate any one of those 3 receivers. I'm fine flex. I'm not touching Huntley and I'm not touching Heineke this week.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, but I actually might switch it and go Deontay just over DJ Moore certainly for floor. Highest floor across the board here, I think, is Deontay Johnson. He's clearly still the number 1 target for in that offense, right? He had 10 catches, 98 yards or something like that last week. So you could certainly see something like that happening again against Vegas. We've been talking about that game quite a bit, actually. And we could certainly see that. So I might switch it to Deontay Johnson, then DJ Moore, then Michael Pittman. But I think you're 100% right, Brad. We're on the wide receivers first and foremost. He means Marlon Mack. Yeah, Marlon Mack is a sneaky play. I think not a lot of people, I think, will be on him. Watson breakout game. You think so? I do, especially if Lattimore's back and there's some wind
And Chubb's not playing.
and Chubb's not playing.
I mean, fire up your Kareem Hunt shares, sure, but no.
Yeah, absolutely. Snipinator again, half point PPR.
No, I'm
Should I
starting Evan
start
Ingram
Dalton
here.
Schultz or Evan Ingram at tight end? Solid, boring, or new shiny?
Evan Ingram's facing the Jets, who we know don't do great against tight ends. Philly's probably very similar, don't do great against tight ends either, but I think Evan Ingram gives you the higher floor and higher ceiling.
Really?
T-Lock
think,
targets him a ton.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like my best ball shares and teams really rely on the Jags, and this is a big game on Thursday for me in my best ball life this year. I have 16 teams in the main best ball games kind of left, and I have 50% Evan Ingram. So
oh yeah,
I got
Evan
a
Ingram's
lot of.
huge.
I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping you're right. This is what I kind of drafted for. And
there was at one point
we'll
I thought he was their leading. Yeah, so he's been targeted. He's the number 3 target on the team at 84 targets. He's caught 61 of them for 610 and 4 touchdowns. And here recently, he's just been on a whirlwind. 8 targets.
Factor in
targets,
the one
5.
game though. Factor in the one game that he had.
Yeah, the 11 for 162 is hard to. You're never going to see that again.
No,
but 8. If he's getting you, somewhere in the 7 to 10 targets range. I think that gives you better production value than Dalton Schultz, because I think Dalton's only averaging like 5 or 6 targets at most a game.
Well, and he's pretty much not getting in the end zone, Dalton Schultz. Like that's the biggest thing here is
he's averaging somewhere in the 4 to 5 targets a game. So 6 catches recently. Other than that, he's had 2, 4, and 3. That's just not as attractive as an option as Evan Ingram.
I'll go with you. I'll go with Evan Ingram, especially because I need him an absolute ton this week. So
Daniel Keenan with $10. What's up, baby?
Daniel Keenan, you came in last week hot and heavy, and nice. Appreciate you coming back, my man. So super chat gets your question bumped to the top, as Brad always likes to remind everybody. Wide receivers: Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Sutton, Chris Moore, Chark, Richie James. Need 3 and flex, and need 2 RBs.
So
3 receiver, McLaurin, 2 flex.
Definitely DK.
Or sorry.
No, I'm just talking as I'm looking at. So Terry, 100%. McLaurin and Metcalf are those 2 have to be in your lineup. Sutton's still hurt. I'm not touching him right now. Chris Moore is going against the Titans. That could be a ceiling play. He could get ton of targets, but I would probably lean Chark as my 3rd guy here, just because he's the 3rd best option. Richie James is a fun, sneaky option though too. But
let me just pull this up here. I need to see what Chris Moore did last week. What did he do last week? I don't know off the top of my head.
I can tell you.
So I'm going to pull him up here.
It was against Kansas City. So let's see. Yeah.
I think it was like 5 for
9 targets, caught 4 of them for 42.
440. That's what I thought. So okay.
Basically got you probably about 8 points. Yeah, 8 points, Daniel said. Perfect.
So I'm going to go with Chris Moore because the Titans are horrible against wide receivers.
I'm fine with that.
So he's getting targeted more. Yeah, he's getting targeted, like pushing double digits for the last 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, 2 weeks for sure. And he's been getting
targets over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's been getting targeted consistently when given the opportunity, and there will certainly be opportunity, I think, this week. Well, mind you, watch the practice schedule here with Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins.
So Brandon Cooks ain't coming back this year.
If he doesn't
want to play for this team.
No, he doesn't want to be there at all. And if they don't play again, if neither of them play again, it's a smash Chris Moore. Absolute
Nico Collins wasn't practicing still, so I'm Chris Moore on this one. I'm with you. Give me
those 3 wide receivers: McLaurin, Metcalf, Chris Moore,
and 2 running backs. Stevenson, Eckler, McKinnon.
Eckler, you're not sitting. Period.
Yeah, you have to start Eckler. Let's see,
and it's got to be Stevenson against my Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like you have to, as much as I would have said Kamara just because he's elite. You never know what you're getting out of that New Orleans offense.
And then that's who I'm flexing, would be Kamara.
So you would flex Kamara over McKinnon?
Yeah, the same discussion we had earlier.
Okay.
I don't want to be that guy that sits Alvin Kamara when he blows up for, 160 total yards and 2-3 touchdowns.
Very true.
So, and that's certainly like within the realm of possibility, absolutely, against a weak Cleveland run D, and he's got all the PPR opportunity. He's leading, the team by far. His most touches and carries last week since week 8. So,
yeah. And his other question was about tight end as well. He said Waller or Dulcich. I think you have to do Waller, right? Waller's healthy, isn't he? He's good to go.
Yeah, I mean, he got a touchdown last week.
He was in the end zone last week. So
I've been dogging Darren Waller on this program for friggin' weeks and weeks and weeks because I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he wants to play for the Raiders at all. But he is also going to be playing for a new contract. I believe he's up at the end of this year, and that's what he's upset about is they didn't give him a contract. So
it happens. I mean,
if you
earn your money, buddy.
Yeah, there's nothing.
I'm starting Waller though. Dulcich, you can't trust. I mean, maybe he gets 8 targets, maybe he gets 0. I mean, it's so hard to trust him. So I'd go with the floor there. You can only start one tight end. And weather is always going to be a factor this time of year, especially with these games, and especially this weekend with the Arctic-y type conditions. But there shouldn't be as much. I mean, it's probably just going to be really cold as opposed to a lot of snow. Some of these places aren't really expected to get much more than a few inches of snow, which shouldn't really be a huge problem.
Yeah. I could be on board here with Waller for sure. Especially, there's nothing more motivating to an NFL player than playing for a contract, and that's absolutely what's going on here. We saw him get in the end zone last week. I'll go with Darren Waller, and then McLaurin, Metcalf, Chris Moore, Kamara, Stevenson, Eckler will be our starts there. Good morning, everyone. Marco from the future. Another last week coming back. He is from the future. Comes from an alternate universe where Ryan Leaf is an MVP.
I mean, he's an MVP in our hearts. So every day.
Yeah. That one was answered. Marco from the future. Start 4. Thielen, Chris Moore, Dotson, Palmer, Cooks, Sky Moore, D-Rob. DeMarcus Robinson was another guy I wanted to touch on. Jameson Williams, half PPR.
I love Jameson. No. I mean, probably 4. Has to be Thielen, Moore.
Dotson. I'm going DeMarcus Robinson. This is something I wanted to touch
Tyler
on.
Huntley throwing on the ball.
This is something that I wanted to touch on here. Over the last 5 weeks since the Baltimore Ravens bye, he's averaged 6.6 targets per game, 5.6 catches per game, 53.4 yards per game, 0 touchdowns. That gives you a floor of 10.54. Over the average, obviously, over the last 5 weeks. He's a possession receiver, with hopefully a double-digit floor. Yes, Huntley's throwing them the ball. Last week he had 6 catches on 6 targets. I think 29 yards. I think it was.
Yeah, six catches, 29 yards.
Yeah.
The week before, 5 catches, 52. The week before, 741. The week before, 1 for 17. We also have a 1 for 12 in there. I mean, against Atlanta, I don't hate the idea of going for the safe play.
That's why. Possession receiver. Atlanta's defense is horrible against wide receivers. I mean, they're going to have to throw at some point, sometimes. And
are they really?
They're going to have to throw a little bit. And, if you get that, let's say you get 6 catches, 29 yards, you're not beating your head against a wall, right? If you're starting 4 of these guys in this scenario, right, I could certainly be talked into DeMarcus Robinson. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea. You want to be safe with at least one of these players. I'd probably do Thielen more and Palmer for sure. Dotson, I wouldn't start anyone against San Francisco. So Dotson is hard. As much as I like the player, I don't trust the situation this week. They're just going to.
I don't trust consistency with him, like getting targets and catches and opportunity. I just don't particularly trust that.
So I'm fine if you want to do D-Rob in there. Jameson Williams, I think, is still going to keep getting slowly worked back. So as much as I love the player, there's not a big ceiling or a floor really at this point. He's not. I mean, he'll get a catch or two, but is he scoring a 41-yard touchdown every time he gets it? No.
I'm on board with that. Adam Thielen, Chris Moore, not Sky Moore, Joshua Palmer, and Demarcus Robinson. I'm on board with that.
Let's do it.
Monty will end up with the Texans. That would be really, really interesting. That'd be a great spot for him to go, I think.
It'd be a fun combo, him and.
Ooh, this is one for Brad. Start two or sit one.
IDP. Start two or sit one.
I'm not sure what that means.
I like it. We're sitting one regardless, right? We're starting two. So Javon Holland
Brisker, I'm starting. Brisker, I'm starting.
Against Buffalo.
I'm starting Brisker for sure. That's my number one. Holland is a little inconsistent from the safety spot, and he got a concussion, I believe, last week. So typically, if someone gets a concussion starting this year, especially if they play for Miami, if they get a concussion, they will not play the next week. It's almost every single time. Did he not get a concussion? Maybe he didn't. I could have sworn he did.
He's questionable.
With?
I don't know. I own Javon Holland literally in every IDP league.
So do I. I love Javon Holland. I loved Javon Holland when he was in Oregon. I absolutely loved him. Plus, he's Canadian. So
Javon Holland's practicing. I mean, he's already practicing. So if he was a concussion, he's past the protocol because they wouldn't let him on the field. So let's see here. Holland was sidelined because of a neck injury.
Okay, never mind.
So it was a neck thing, not a. All right, so let's see Duggar. What's going on with Duggar?
He did just have that pick six. It was a really, really nice play, actually, as well.
Yeah, I mean, 3 tackles, 8 tackles. I mean, he's been getting double digit. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm against Cincy in that high power offense. I'll probably go Duggar, and I'm probably going Brisker. I love Brisker. Yeah. I don't own any Kyle Duggar shares, but he's performing pretty well in that New England defense. So
that's what I was leaning, because Holland is super inconsistent as far as putting up fantasy points. I agree. I have him on all my teams because he's a fantastic football player. Maybe not exactly the best fantasy asset, but Javon Holland is a phenomenal football player. So I agree. I go Duggar and Brisker. Brisker's my number one for sure, and then I'll go with Duggar as well.
Bingo.
Second time. Welcome back, Daniel.
So we're down to Dylan.
Welcome,
Dylan.
Tuck Farber. Got to
anyone who's watched a RotoHeat video knows I butcher names, so I'm just gonna say
start 2, bench 1, Hopkins, Kamara, and Godwin. Godwin, I'm starting for sure.
How can you not start Hopkins though, right? Like he seems to work with everybody, even though it is Trace McSorley throwing the ball.
That actually just makes me super nervous though with Trace McSorley. He's not good. He is not good.
But has Hopkins ever not produced? Doesn't seem to matter who his quarterback is.
What did he do last week? What did Hopkins do last week? Because there was a lot of Trace McSorley played a fair amount.
Still had 7 for 60, 11 targets. I mean, he still got you double-digit points.
Yeah, you got to go
Cole
with
McCoy and McSorley. So
Nuke Hopkins is still one of the best wide receivers in the game. I was saying that every single day when he wasn't playing.
Hopkins and Godwin.
Yeah.
As much as I love Kamara. And Alan, if you're watching, I apologize.
I'll go that route as well. You just, Hopkins is just, he is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. And I would be upset with someone to try to argue me that.
Nope. He's the best. All right. So Trey would be the next one.
S. Evening, gents. Full PPR. Start 1. Rashad White, Singletary, or Judy. Dulcich is his tight end. Tua or Dak. Thanks and good luck this week. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
we got
I'm going
Philly.
Jerry Judy. And then Dak.
Man, that's not.
Oh, no. Tua's got Green Bay. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
probably going Tua. Yeah. Tua and Judy.
neither of those are great matchups for quarterback. Those are both tough matchups for quarterbacks, but
Yeah, but with the weapons that Tua has, I mean,
they just brought in T.Y. Hilton. What are you talking about?
no. Well, Dak, I mean, Dak now finally has an elite receiver. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I'll agree with you on this one with Miami, just because Waddle and Tyreek are the two best wide receiver. That's the best wide receiver combo in the NFL. And I don't think it's particularly close, even though I'm a Bengals fan. Those two are just fantastic. So if you're going to shut down one, great. The other one will go off for 150 and 3 touchdowns if they need to. So I'll especially at home, yeah, I'll take 2 as well. And you said Judy, even though he's got Dulcich. You don't want to.
I mean, Judy's actually going to get points though. Dulcich, you don't know what he's going to get.
Yeah,
I mean, Rashad White's okay. Singletary, I mean, I don't love either of those matchups. Judy's going to get a bunch of targets. I mean, he should at least. He could be the only one of that group that gets double-digit anything this week, right? Like I could easily make the case that Singletary doesn't get double-digit carries.
True. You're very true on that one. Yeah, I'll go with it. I just hate having Dulcich. I would maybe look at your waiver wire. Look at your waiver wire for another tight end
like that for sure.
Neither do I, especially if you don't have the quarterback and you don't want the quarterback in this stack. So, yeah, look at the waiver wire for a different tight end maybe, and then start Judy comfortably. And we both agree on Tua.
So I think we're Marco to the future with another IDP question.
You always want kickers that kick indoors at this time of year.
Bingo.
Took our advice, played him, and won by 7. There you go. Those are the success stories we want to see.
We love it. We love when you win.
Marco from the future.
Duvernay on IR is sad to me. I love Devin Duvernay.
Yeah,
such a good player. I got him on so many rosters.
I got him on a team as well, especially if they allow return yards. It's just free cake. Free cheese,
so
as I
Nick
like
Bosa,
to say.
Brian Burns, K. Whitty Pay, or Josh Sweat start 2. I mean, you start your studs.
Start Nick Bosa, no question.
Nick Bosa, and then, Brian Burns, you have to start, and you don't know what you're going to get because Detroit's offensive line is really good. K. Whitty Pay is really nice, but he's super streaky. Oh, man, he's got the Chargers, though. The offensive line is so suspect.
Let's go Nick Bosa. What's Kwity Paye been doing? What's he been doing?
Playing football.
Not at a great pace, though.
I mean, if he's not injured, he's producing. But he's been injured a lot.
I mean, he's looked good lately. He's at 6 sacks, 3-6. Yeah, let's go with Kwity Paye and Nick Bosa. Roll a dice on Kwity Paye on Monday night, prime time at home.
Suspect Chargers team
coming off a bye and a sack last week.
I'm fine with that. I mean, as much as I always have Brian Burns in my lineups because I love Brian Burns. This time of year you want to play some ceiling type plays, hoping that you can get some banger points. So I'm fine with K. Whitty Pay.
Daniel against is Mostert a good start over the Shining Knight and Snow White? I think so.
I mean, the Jaguars, Knight could get more fantasy points than he did against Detroit, but I'd still start Mostert because we're not entirely sure if Jeff Wilson's going to be back. So I would keep an eye on the injury report. If Wilson comes back, then things might get a little more muddy, but I'm fine with Mostert.
But I like Mostert. He's been really, really good at home against a weak Packers run D.
Rick says Jeff Wilson should be back. So if Jeff Wilson's back, then I start Knight.
Knight is questionable with an ankle. The what I hate a lot about this one is that's a Thursday game. So you could be behind the 8 ball quick if Knight, he had 13 carries, 2.3 points last week. He's not going to get you a ton of, that must be Rashad White, right?
Yeah, it's Rashad White.
It's Mostert. It's Mostert for me.
Not Lendell White.
It's Mostert for me. Even if Jeff Wilson's back, it's still Mostert for me.
Rick says Knight was limited, should be good to go. Yeah, I mean, if Jeff Wilson's back, I'd probably lean Knight against the Jaguars. You can run on the Jaguars. That's they're not stingy. But I mean, either one of them, I think you probably have the same type floor and ceiling. I mean, potentially.
Yeah, I think he might get a higher ceiling from Mostert, though.
Even with all them other pieces around there? You think so?
Yeah. Yeah. I say it time and time again. You have to run the ball to win in the NFL. You have to. So, and it's a weak run D. It's a weak run D. They have to run the ball. And Mostert's he doesn't need 20 carries. He needs 10, and he could throw up 80 in a touchdown. I think I'd be fairly comfortable with that, to be honest. 4.3 speed. I'm going Mostert here. DJ Duvernay. We were just talking about poor Devin Duvernay. Is that Devin Duvernay? Are you Devin Duvernay?
If it is Devin Duvernay, welcome, my friend. It is nice to have a quality wide receiver in the chat tonight.
Yeah. What up, y'all? With McSorley starting a bad weather game on Thursday and Khalil Herbst possibly active. Pick 2 full PPR. ETN, Hopkins. I think we talked ourselves into Nuke, right?
Hopkins for me. Hopkins is elite.
I memean, ETN against that Jets D.
I mean, Detroit did great on the ground against them. So, I mean, both those types of teams have the same type of value against the Jets defense. Mm-hmm. I'm not trusting ETN on the ground.
So, do you trust Montgomery more than him?
It's pick 2. Oh, it's pick 2. I was like, just give me Hopkins. What are you talking about?
We agree on Hopkins, but in this one,
Rick's in the chat. He's our resident Chicago fan. He knows all things Bears. Do you trust that Herbert's back? If Herbert's back, I guess I would probably lean ETN. If Herbert's probably going to be on a pitch count type thing and Monty's just going to get a ton of work, then I'd lean Monty, I guess. But we can always come back to that when Rick comments, because I don't trust either of those. So. Yeah,
and then again, the unfortunate thing, this Thursday game is deciding a lot of things for a lot of people.
Wide receivers are all still out. Monty will get tons of work. Give me Monty, give me Hopkins.
That's what I was saying earlier in the show. Is Chicago's going to run the ball 1,000 times, and including with Justin Fields, right? So I think I gotta lean Monty here. Let's go Hopkins. Let's go Hopkins and Montgomery. Let's just stick to it. Ryan Green, IDP question. Start 4. Josie Jewell. You're starting Josie Jewell. Werner.
Pete Werner from New Orleans. Frankie
Devondre,
Carolina.
Luvu's been amazing. And against Carolina
this year.
Against Detroit, I'm going with Luvu.
Yep,
I'm going with Jewell.
Jewell, Luvu. I'd probably do Warner.
I go Matt Milano because we just talked about how much the Bears are going to run the ball.
Yeah, I'm fine with those 4.
Plus, he can get you. He can kick in a sack. So, who's the third one you said?
Jewell, Luvu,
Milano,
and then I think did I say Warner? I would do Warner. Let me look. Let me make sure. But I think
TJ Edwards has been pretty stout.
So I would probably want to lean. I really liked what Pete Werner been doing here this year. Oh, he's questionable though. Oh, he's a non-participant. I'd probably lean TJ Edwards.
I'm going TJ Edwards.
I wouldn't hate stacking both Milano and Poyer. I mean, both those guys should give you solid tackle floors. I mean, I guess that depends on your scoring.
Poyer's questionable.
Still a DNP, but they expect him to play.
I'm going with TJ Edwards here. I'm going with TJ Edwards, Milano, Luvu, and Jewell are my guys in this if I'm picking 4.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Those are all good. I would love to put Poyer in, but
even if Poyer's playing and Werner's playing, I'm still going TJ Edwards against Dallas.
I'm fine with TJ Edwards. Might as well mix it up and put some other pieces in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Daniel Keenan again, 2 wide receiver and flex. Godwin is one of them. Waddle is one of them. And
I would probably do Christian Kirk. No, they're facing the Jets. No.
I'm going Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson. I'm fine there.
Godwin, Waddle,
Johnson.
Yeah, and then DJ Moore. And
Kirk is leading the team in targets, but nobody's getting catches against the Jets secondary.
No, that is a stout, and I hope that they do. But I think it'll be a team effort if they do for including Jamal Agnew for Trevor Lawrence. Start 2, Logan Wilson, Levante Adams, Anzalone or Fields.
I'm probably doing Logan Wilson and Anzalone.
I'm going Logan Wilson.
Not what it says on the screen. Anzalone.
And yeah, let's do that. Logan Wilson, Anzalone. I can get on board with that for sure. Light was limited. Rick's going Knight if Wilson's back.
That's what I said.
I don't know.
Fine with that.
Be a part of Raider Nation. Unfortunately, but I'm a huge fan. I'm from Baltimore, so sad my man go down. Yeah, Devin Duvernay, 100 catch, 100 catch wide receiver out of the University of Texas. I like Devin Duvernay as well. Some outside opinions.
Oh, okay.
No, I think we're running out of questions here. What else we got? Anyone got any questions? What do you got, Brad?
I'm going to share the screen so we can see Rick's Scott Fishbowl team.
Do it.
All right, so share it. Boom. Let's put us down here so we're not in the space. All right. So what do we look? So he wants, basically we're talking about who to start, quite honestly. Obviously, you start Josh Allen.
Side question here. I thought Scott Fishbowl was more of a best ball format.
No, it's not best ball.
Okay.
You got to submit them. So super flex, tight ends and kickers can get a little bit of a bump. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Here I'm starting Josh Allen, definitely starting Derek Carr, Saquon. Oof. Oh, thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. I work hard on trying to make shorts that don't suck, so I do appreciate when I get the good comments.
Yeah, shout out is always welcome.
Yeah, so with Fishbowl, completion percentage is huge.
Okay,
but I'm not starting. Oh, yeah, but so the issue, Rick, is that Deshaun's been rough, man. He's not looked right yet. Is he really ready to take the next step? I don't know if he's really ready for that until when we don't need him.
Yeah, we've been talking about this game almost all episode, and I think there's a good possibility we see a shootout in that game. And yeah, I'm going with Derek Carr. They have to win, and the Steelers do not want to not be 500 or better, which is impossible to be 500 these days. But yeah, with Tomlin never having a losing season, I guarantee you he and the whole team wants to keep that going regardless of if they make playoffs or not. So, yeah, I'm going Derek Carr here and Josh Allen.
Okay, so let's see here.
Saquon, obviously, no question.
So you start 11 total, and you have to start at least 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, or kicker. Defense or kicker kind of thing. So you need at least 2 running backs and at least 3 receivers and then at least 1 tight end.
And then you can stack Darren Waller with Derek Carr. That's perfectly reasonable.
As much as I love Cade Otton, and Cade Otton could be a fun play here too. I mean, he's going against Arizona, who is pretty weak against opposing tight ends.
100% he is. Yeah.
But 2 running backs. I mean, obviously you're starting.
But you're looking for a ceiling in this, right? In this format with
you're trying to get the most points.
Yeah, so you want to be stacking at this point, right? If Derek Carr throws 2 to Darren Waller, you're probably in the top whatever percentile. I doubt many people have
Carr has scored 12, -4, and 15 over the last 3 weeks.
Really?
Jeez. And it's 100% ceiling.
So yeah, if it's 100% ceiling, like completion percentage, like realistically, Derek Carr could go like 19 for 22 or
so the last 2
22
weeks
for 25.
The last 2 weeks, Deshaun Watson's had 14 and had 15.
But again, I'm going to keep going back to that ceiling play. Like in this format, I think having that stack again, if Derek Carr throws 2 touchdown passes to Darren Waller, how many other guys are going to have that stack, that exact stack? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
my 2 cents on that. The QB scoring definitely is a little bit strange in this, but look at some of these other games, 24.8, 21, 20, 20. I mean,
he is a boom bust for sure. I mean, he's almost the epitome of boom bust at this point.
A weak secondary. That's what I'm doing. I'd be stacking Darren Waller with Derek Carr.
All right. So then 2 running backs at least. So we're definitely for sure on Saquon. What are you doing with the other running back? I almost feel like this is prime time for Marlon Mack, even though it's 24 is not good in this league at quarterback. Look at Allen's. Oh, what has Allen done? 42, 42, 20, 20.
Yeah, but 20, 20, 15, 20, yeah. 16. 20 points is fine, it looks like.
So Cleveland is versus Saints. So that's in Cleveland. So it's going to be a super cold game. Same with Derek Carr in Pittsburgh. Both of those games are going to be frigid. I mean, it's kind of they could be leaning on the run, but if Nick Chubb's out, then Deshaun's going to have even more trouble because he's going to lean on Hunt.
20 will not do, Rick, but what other options do you have?
I mean, neither one of your quarterbacks, I don't know that they have a chance. I mean,
like whether it will or not,
with the conditions, this could be tough.
The finals, like what are your best options? Like, yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But in my opinion, like that's the best way to maximize your ceiling is get that stack with Darren Waller and just, hope for the best kind of a thing. Unless you seriously believe that Deshaun Watson is going to like exponentially outscore Derek Carr, which personally I don't see.
Here's the other question. Do you only start Josh Allen and do you look at a different position?
Well, but look at the wide receivers. That's where you're going to go with it because the running backs aren't there. So you're going to go with wide receivers. But where's your huge upside there where you're going to be able to, match or exceed the ceiling of a quarterback in a super flex format, right? Like it's just not going to happen. Like it is what it is. Like I get that, you don't want 20 points out of Derek Carr, but if you don't have any other options, it is what it is. To maximize ceiling, in my opinion, you have to go with Derek Carr and Darren Waller. And it might, it might blow up in your face. You might get nothing, but I'm just looking at it from a ceiling perspective and trying to get the absolute maximum that I think I can possibly get. And that's what I would be going with. So like you're sitting there with Terry McLaurin against the 49ers. Are you going to be playing him over Derek Carr in a super flex format? Comfortably? I doubt it. Right?
Yeah, with the way that Fishbowl scores, it's hard to feel comfortable with anything you do. Hence why I'm not in the playoffs because my team just couldn't hang. Yeah, I mean,
and then you have to start Terry McLaurin too, so that's fun. And then Mike Williams probably. Devontae
so I guess
Smith.
The question we have here is if Chubb's out, does Deshaun start running more? And do you get a lot of rushing production this week out of him?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Look, he had at least 6 carries every week.
Yeah.
So do you see something there, him getting out? I mean, because that could be what sends Deshaun Watson over the top. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, you're not wrong.
Comfortable, but
you're certainly not wrong. But then he basically, if you're starting Deshaun Watson in this, he has to run he has to get a rushing touchdown, right? Like especially if Marcus Lattimore is back, like we talked about earlier in the show here. If Marcus Lattimore is back, shutting down Amari Cooper's still going to get his. I realize that I unjustly and irrationally hate Amari Cooper, but I do.
Unjust.
So he'll still get his, but he has to run in. Like Yeah,
Tyler
Tyler
Lockett
Lockett,
really hurts
that's
you
a
in this
tough one.
situation
Yeah.
because he carried you a lot of the year. I mean, he
Plus,
just really produced well.
plus the matchups too, right? Like, even Mike Williams against Indy is not a fantastic matchup. And Scary Terry against the 49ers is really not a good matchup, right? So,
I mean, Devonta Smith would be fun. I
yeah,
think he should see a really. I mean,
he's
if
starting for
Minshew's
sure.
quarterback, that could be that could be terrible for everybody, right? I mean that could really hurt things. I mean, you have a lot of linchpins that could pull and hurt this roster in a lot of different ways, and it isn't even necessarily the players' faults,
Yeah.
just because of outside situations. Yeah, if Burks plays, that's huge bump for you because we know Tannehill is perfectly fine targeting Burks, and Burks has that touchdown upside.
And I mean, still though, the Texans is not a great matchup either,
No, not amazing, but
That's why I'm saying, like, it's just what I'm saying is like you're in tough with all of your matchups here, basically. So I don't
go
think there's
safe.
anyone you can justify starting over Derek Carr in a super flex format, especially if you're trying to maximize ceiling with a stack play in Darren Waller. I just don't think there's any way around it. You have to start Derek Carr and Waller when you're trying to go for ceiling in this type of a format. It's like what, 500 people left?
Yeah, there's not a
So
lot left at this point.
or 300 or something like that. I can't remember the
Yeah.
number. I'm not in Scottish Bowl, but yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
So, Daniel Keenan, he's thinking the Raiders are going to lose and frozen tundra in Pittsburgh with Franco Harris. Them playing for Franco Harris plus trying to get back to 500. Yeah, and
It
the
wouldn't
Raiders
surprise
are.
me. I mean, Pickett. I like Pickett. I think he's potential for the answer long term for them. I'd like Pickett.
Well, he's going to be the answer regardless, long term. Short-ish long term, 1 to 3 years, type of a thing. But yeah, I would be worried about the Raiders too. Being a Raiders fan is tough because they are just habitually underperforming all season. Jaws, howdy, Amari Rogers, Mims, or Skrowanek, stash for 23. Man,
stash. Oh,
Amari's kind of looking okay since he's getting a bit of an opportunity to play on offense. Since just being absolutely buried and obviously hated by Aaron Rodgers. He just didn't want the A-Rod A-Rod to A-Rod. He just couldn't have, there's too many A-Rods. Can't throw you the ball. Sorry, Amari.
Talent-wise, it's Mims, but I don't
he
know
has
if
to
he's
leave.
going to break out, right?
He has to leave.
Well, does he? I mean, Corey Davis isn't going to be around forever.
No, true, but
so I mean, the team's finally starting to use him a little bit. I mean, it's real,
but they also still need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So
they need. So this is the issue you run into is that they don't know how to develop a quarterback. So it doesn't matter who they get. Zach Wilson has the tools; they just don't know how to develop them.
I don't think I hate Zach Wilson. I don't think he has the tools.
I'm not saying I love Zach Wilson. I'm just saying they don't know how to develop a quarterback. Yeah. Mike White is not an answer.
You're not wrong there either, but they all, like, even if he is still there, and even if Corey Davis does leave, they still have Garrett Wilson, who's the unquestioned the number one wide receiver there, and the best wide receiver by a long shot, and then Elijah Moore. So
that's a fun that way. That's a fun trade. I love Brian Burns. He traded Tyler Lockett straight up for Brian Burns. I like it.
That's a lot.
I mean, it depends on where your team's at. Tyler Lockett's 30.
True.
So it depends on where your team's at. Brian Burns is an elite IDP asset. Depending on your scoring, that could be huge for you. So, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I was a big fan of Amari Rogers and Mims, so I don't really hate keeping either of them. Skowronek, I think we know what we're getting with him. I mean, they keep trying to add receivers because he isn't really much more than a depth guy that can give you a few weeks here or there. So if you're in best ball, I would probably say Skowronek because the weeks that he produces are better than what we've seen out of the other two. But
I'm out on Skowronek for sure. Amari Rogers intrigues me. I'd be interested to see how the rest of the year shakes out for him. And then, Mims, if he is a draft day trade, which I could see as well, trade him for a 5th, 6th round pick or something like that. If he goes to a decent situation.
Yeah.
he could definitely have some value there. I really like Denzel Mims in the draft. I really liked him a lot, and he just went to a bad
some time
situation.
to grow, and he's not been helped in New York.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's it. I think that's all.
Just trying to be contrarian, aren't you, Rick?
Skoronek's not a bad receiver. I don't know that you're ever going to be able to trust him as anything more than their number 3 or 4 option on their passing game. And
yeah, unless he can turn into Cooper Kupp, which he cannot. Like there's nothing elite. There's nothing about him that, says he's going to be some, fantastic football player. It's just not there for me.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I wouldn't mind stashing. He's the safest of them because he's at least going to produce. The other guys really haven't done anything. So, but any one of these 3 guys could be on a roster or be not in the league.
Yeah,
surprise me.
Yeah, more than the other 2. No, I think you're right. All 3 of them are in the same spot. To be honest, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, potentially Skoranek stays with the Rams, but they could also draft a wide receiver, have Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell,
sell everybody. Who knows?
Yeah, so
they have the picks, but now they need the picks because their teams are toast.
Yeah, F them picks didn't work too well for them realistically long term, but you got a Super Bowl and that's all that matters. So it's a win.
It's the price you pay sometimes.
It's a win. But that's all we got for questions there. I think we'll wrap this up. Brad, I appreciate you coming on as always. It's always good to chat with you. So thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Merry Christmas to everybody that enjoys the Christmas. I know this weekend's going to be busy for a lot of folks. So we're going to keep pumping out some shorts. I got a trade short that I'm going to drop tomorrow. I want some comments on. Let me know what you guys think about my crazy trade. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. We got a lot of content playing. We got a lot of stuff going on as we go into the new year. And thank you, Cody, for running this thing for me. I do appreciate it. It was nice to be able to take a break and focus on the other stuff. So knowing that I can trust y'all, it's huge help. Yeah, no, absolutely. Be a friend, tell a friend, and above Brad's head is the Discord there. So jump into the Discord. Don't be shy. Say hello. If you need anything from any of us, you can @ us in Discord at any of our many channels that we have in there for anything you could ever want, realistically. The Dynasty show, I'm not sure is playing anymore right now, but this show will continue on Wednesdays. Next Wednesday, we're doing some fun stuff. I believe Shane should be back. We're going to have some fantasy awards, I think is what we're doing next week, where we'll have the fantasy MVP, the fantasy comeback. We got a whole list of guys that we're going to do. Might touch on a little bit of best ball stuff. Hopefully I got a team or 2, or I'm hoping for like 7 to 9, to be honest. I got 19 right now, still in the semis, 19 out of 357, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's actually a pretty good advance rate, to be honest. But I'm hoping for a couple in the finals, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. The Boomer Bust show on Sundays is what Rick is talking about here. Check that out this weekend, potentially. I mean, possibly Sunday morning, but definitely Saturday, which is huge for you Saturday folks that need some help. Yeah, definitely, which is big, especially for stuff that we've talked about on this show, where you got to pay attention to injury reports and things like that. So they'll be obviously more solidified for the guys on Saturday morning, potentially Sunday morning as well. Come back next week. We will be on again, and then I might do some best ball stuff the week after that before the real NFL playoffs. Yep. And that should be fun. So that's all we got. Yeah, and in the off season, on Twitter, a lot of live streams as well. IDP will be back. We've started planning out those show topics. So you IDP guys that have been in the chat, we'll be here in the off season talking IDP as a full show by itself. So come join us. And some draft content. We've already started a little bit, some mock drafts on the channel. Go check those out as well. I got some spicy picks on those mock drafts. And I'm looking to spice it up. Mispronounce some names. And listen to Brad mispronounce some names. But that's it. That's all we got. Thanks, Brad, again for coming on. And we'll see you guys all next week. Take care. Merry Christmas.